Okay, so today we're talking about financial assistance. One of the things that we're not going to touch on, because this is all so individual, that we're not going to go there. Social Security, pensions, retirement, investments, savings, real estate sale or transactions. But I do have panels here to talk about the long-term care insurance. So to help you understand just a little bit about that. Reverse mortgages, a lot of times people want to age in place, and there's been a lot of pros and cons about reverse mortgages, and I wanted an expert here to really tell you about that. Veteran benefits, I was lucky enough to have Gary referred to me, and he has recently helped his father get the benefits, and so he's going to share information about that as well. And then we have a Medi-Cal expert. She actually does all of California, and she made a trip down here specifically to help us understand and learn that. So I'm going to invite our panel up here. Will you guys come on up, and let's go ahead and get started. What we're going to do is hopefully, we tested these microphones earlier, but we just recently had a little bit of an issue with one of them. So we'll find out if they'll work as we have people introduce yourselves. So Sherry, let's go ahead and have you start and tell us a bit about yourself in a minute and then a half or so, okay?
Okay. Thank you. Oh, gosh. Yeah. I knew my voice carried.
Yeah, you can punch down further.
Yeah. Okay, maybe I don't need it. Hi everyone, I'm Sherry Singleton, and my company is Live Well Senior Care Connections. I specialize in helping families find the right senior living community to move into. There are a lot of misunderstandings about what senior living communities are these days, and they have changed a lot in the last 20 to 30 years. I got into this industry because helping my mother, trying to get her moved across the country a couple of times, not being in the industry. I was in the hotel business, had no idea what I was doing, and I just knew there had to be a better way. So my service is free to families I work with. I get compensated by the community that is chosen, but I just narrow it down to over 300 communities options in North County alone. So I just help narrow that down based on care needs and budget and activities and lifestyle desired. But I love what I do, and I love that I met Christy and can participate in these panels and hopefully shed some light on senior living options and how to pay for them. Thank you.
Marta.
Hi everyone, I'm Marta Hoyt. I've been in the mortgage lending arena now for about 20 years, all of those here in Encinitas. And what I do is I help people utilize a reverse mortgage in a variety of ways. One of those ways, of course, is to get rid of monthly mortgage payments. Another very popular option is to access tax-free cash from your home's equity for long-term care. And along with that, perhaps remodeling your home so you can age in place better. My favorite option is our line of credit. It's an emergency standby line of credit for when you need it. It is irrevocable. It will be with you for as long as you live in the house, and it has no prepayment penalty on it at any time. We'd like to talk more about that.
Lisa.
Hi, good morning. My name is Lisa Ramsey, and I'm here with Medi-Cal Consulting Services. I used to work for Medi-Cal. I actually worked in 2 separate counties, so I've been through the training twice, so I know Medi-Cal pretty well. But in addition to that, I worked in the nursing home industry for a number of years as a corporate consultant. So I got to learn a lot about nursing homes, rehabilitation, going from the hospital, getting back home, how to be successful with that, what help is out there to help you achieve that without going broke. There is a lot of help. I can blow your mind, I'm telling you. So I've been doing this for over 30 years. I've got immense knowledge on this topic. If you know anyone who is struggling to take care of themselves or loved one, you need to talk to me. The first thing I recommend is you go to my YouTube channel. I have a little booth set up over there with the other panelists. If there's a QR code. Have you guys learned about QR codes? Oh my gosh, they're so amazing. If you take out your camera on your phone and you put it over the little code that's on my thing, it'll take you to my YouTube channel. You'll find over a dozen videos. The one I recommend you start with is 18 minutes and 3 seconds. It'll blow your mind. It's gonna help you understand the truth about Medi-Cal and the amazing programs that are out there to help you. Medi-Cal has really come a long way. Right now, everybody 65 years of age or older or on Medicare at any age is eligible to Medi-Cal, period.
Thank you.
I look forward to telling you more.
Thank you. Yeah, will you show that, Chairman? I don't know how we make these others work.
Good morning, everybody. I'm Gary Roman. What I do, I'm a veteran career coach. For the last 10 years, I've been working in the veteran community, and I coach veterans to help them start their civilian transition. That involves helping them with a resume, helping them know how to do a professional introduction, and help them have a plan for their civilian career. I'm also a 72-year-old veteran, military brat. My dad was in the Air Force for 23 years, and I'm here to share some experiences related to some of the benefits that veterans are eligible for. How many veterans do I have out there? How about veteran spouses? Yeah, thank you for the service.
Military brat.
Okay, do I push this? No, okay, yeah. Okay, I'll use that one, Gary. The microphone shuffle. Okay, so we're gonna start with Sherry. You offer an array of services, but we're gonna focus right away on the initial consultation. And your services and consultations are free, from what I understand, right?
Yes, they are.
So when someone's trying to figure out their future in a better place to age and buy something smaller, rent, what prompts people to reach out to you?
Well, first I just want to ask a show of hands. Who wants to stay in their home as long as they possibly can? That's what I thought. Hi, I just recognized you. And I get that, especially if you've been there for quite some time and there are memories and you're used to everything and maybe you still have some friends and neighbors around. But I do want to tell you, and I can't reiterate enough, that senior living options, aside from your home, are not what you think they are. They have changed a great deal. But if you do want to stay in your home, there are likely some modifications that you need to maybe make down the road, and think about things like transportation. The worst thing that can happen though is if you stay in your home, you don't get a lot of visitors and you start to isolate, because isolation, according to the Surgeon General, is the equivalent of smoking 15 cigarettes a day to your brain. It is devastating. And I'm not saying you have to be social butterfly, but one of the beautiful things about moving into communities and right-sizing your life and getting unstuck by decluttering and donating and selling the things that don't bring joy to you, is you start a new chapter and you meet new friends, and it changed my mother's life, again, which is why I do what I do. But again, my service is free, and people though will come to me, not just because it's free, but most people don't even know that the service I provide is out there, so please tell your friends. But maybe they've tried home care, and in-home care is great. We don't have a representative today, but in-home care is usually what people will start with because they want to stay in their home as long as they can. But that adds up very quickly. And I know a lot of in-home care agency representatives and owners, and it boggles my mind that today the average hourly rate of bringing someone to a licensed agency that's bonded and background checks and all those things that you want is about $40 an hour with a 4 to 6 hour minimum. I can't do the math in my head this quickly, but if you just say like 8 hours a day, I think times 7 days a week, anyway, it's about $6,000 a month, and that's not including food or transportation or anything like that. That's just for that person to sit in their home and help them out as needed. What I find clients will reach out to me though is they've tried that and the cost is adding up. Sometimes they're still paying their mortgage, or they're paying all these other expenses, property taxes, insurance, groceries, maintenance on the house, upkeep. That's when they start to reach out to me, because they also don't want that in-home care person to come in and then maybe help them out a little bit and then just sit there for the next 5.5 hours. They're paying them $40 an hour. So there's a lot of reasons, but yes, in-home care is usually kind of that bridge before maybe they start looking and saying, you know what, I'm only using a fraction of this house anyway. I don't go upstairs, or I'm pretty much just in the living room, the bedroom, and the kitchen. And so that's when they'll start reaching out just to see what the options are.
So tell me, who's the person that decides if someone needs like full-time nursing care, if that's justified? And what's the difference between assisted living and skilled care nursing?
Good question. Well, they're different models. So skilled nursing, they used to call them nursing homes, and that's what a lot of people think that's their option. They either stay in their home or they move to a nursing home, and that couldn't be further from the truth. There are, again, so many options. But the nursing home is now called skilled nursing facility. We in the industry call it a SNF. Love that, but that's what it's called. But anyway, a SNF, and they're all around the county, but they're medical models. That's for someone, 2 reasons you would be in a SNF is if you need 24/7 care, and sometimes it's short-term. That's the ideal short-term, but as you know, a lot of people live in those, sometimes because of income situation, but oftentimes they have a chronic condition and they need 24/7 skilled nursing care. The other reason that you would be in a SNF is if you are just in there for rehab, for rehabilitation. So my mother had a double knee replacement. She was in a SNF for, I think, about a week. And this was 20 years ago. Now I think they get you out 3 or 4 days, and they want you walking around the next day. But for rehabilitation, they call it post-acute, or for 24/7 long-term, hopefully not long-term, but long-term care or short-term healing. And a physician's going to write that order, and then they'll let you know when it's time to, and Medicare does pay for some of this. I think we're going to get into that, but Medicare will pay for some up to a point. The assisted living and independent assisted living is more of a social model. It's lifestyle. They have chefs that they bring in now. It is night and day. It's night and day. They will have all 24-hour staff if they're licensed, but they're not going to provide medical treatment. That's what the SNF is for. The assisted living and even memory care is more just to help with activities of daily living and help you with wellness and well-being.
So Sherry, when you first meet with them, how do you look at their financial picture and help them decide where to go, what to do, and also what other type of financial situations are there besides just Social Security and their personal savings?
Yeah, well, and obviously, these senior living options that are out there now, they're all over the board. I mean, they're $3,000 a month, maybe $3,500 to $12,000 a month. So the first thing we have to do is look at the financial big picture. I'm not a financial advisor, so I always stress that if you don't have one already, that you work with one, preferably one who primarily works with seniors, because they know they have resources as well, but they know, I think, more of what they're talking about when it comes to retirement, and they're not just trying to build wealth. It's a whole different ballgame. But they have like Christy and Rick are senior real estate specialists. The financial world has those as well. I'm not sure what they're called, but I would always suggest, because that's not my forte. But first and foremost, we look at, do they have a home to sell? Do they have 401k savings? Do they have a pension coming in? What's their Social Security? So we kind of take a big picture look at it. I do need that information just in general to kind of help start narrowing down, because there are some communities that we can tell right off the bat that they might not be able to afford. But we're also going to, and the big one is long-term care insurance. And I think we'll talk about that as well in a little bit, but long-term care insurance is huge. It's just, if you don't have it, it's probably, I hate to say it, too late. But anyway, there are a lot of different options that we look at, but we want to get a big picture what the financial situation is, and I will always ask to bring in,
Yeah, so we'll be
an
getting to
advisor.
long-term care after this. I just wanted to know, what does Medicare pay for? Does anything? Are they going or you're gonna talk around that? Okay, then let's just go on to long-term care insurance.
Okay, but I will say, because I work with families and a lot, I would say 70% of the time, they ask me, will Medicare pay for assisted living or for me to bring someone in the home just to help with ADLs. And ADLs, by the way, is activities of daily living, and that's, bathing, dressing, eating, medication management, even those kinds of things. And no, it will not. And I will let Lisa differentiate that a little bit more, but it doesn't pay for nearly as much as most people think it does.
So with long-term care insurance, I know some folks aren't gonna have that, but we have had a lot of questions in the past about long-term care insurance. So what do the policies, what should people look for? It doesn't cover in-home care, do they have to go to assisted living? Explain that a little bit.
Show of hands, who has long-term care policy? Okay. Well, you're lucky, and that's great, but I would say definitely look at your policy. I know there's someone in this room whose husband had used long-term care, and now she's finding that it might not be the same coverage for her. I'm not an insurance person, but I do know that long-term care up to, maybe in your 50s, it's still a good deal, but usually after 60, 65, it's not, your premiums are just gonna be really, really high. But even if you've gotten it, maybe in the 80s and 90s when it came out, and it was a good deal then, but it might not cover everything that you think it covers. So don't be shy about reaching out to the insurance company that you have it with and make them explain line by line what it's going to cover. But typically, yes, it will cover, it depends on, the coverage and the flexibility, but usually it will cover a state licensed assisted living community and memory care community. And then we have these hundreds of them called, we used to call it boarding care, now we prefer residential care homes, but those are the houses that are in your neighborhood. You don't even know they're there. You think they're just, a single family home, but they usually house up to 6 residents. And these are people who might need a little more hands-on care, assisted living, with daily activities. And then they usually have, up to about 6 residents. Usually long-term care will pay for that, as well as in-home care with activities of daily living.
Sure.
But every policy is different.
A lot of these places, will they help with the billing, or is that something?
Some do, some don't, and so when I'm going and touring with my clients, that's if they have long-term care insurance, we definitely will ask that. Most of them will. The smaller residential care homes, maybe not so much. What they'll do is they will submit the claim for reimbursement, but they want the family to prepay, and that's the residential care homes are all inclusive, so they can be anywhere from $5,000 a month to $8,000 or $9,000 a month, but they want to be prepaid, and then they'll help you submit the claim to your insurance. Some assisted living places, though, they will bill directly.
Okay, thank you. So we're going to move on, and I wanted to know, it seems like a lot of people prefer to age in place. By a show of hands, who's thinking that that's what they want to do is age in place? And so I've asked Marta to come here because there's a lot of pros and cons about reverse mortgage. And she's been doing reverse mortgages forever. I've known Marta a very long time, and so she really knows them. So can you explain how a reverse mortgage works and how those funds can be used, like for in-home care or improvements?
Absolutely. As Christy said when we first came in, we are not here to sell anything. Our intention is to help educate you. And there are many, many misconceptions about a reverse mortgage that just do not make sense. I want to start off with letting you all know that reverse mortgages were commonly known as Home Equity Conversion Mortgage, HECM. And it was signed into law in 1988 by Ronald Reagan. The program was created by a UCLA professor. It was signed into law then and has since then become more and more popular. Right now, most of my referrals come from financial advisors and CPAs and real estate agents. The minimum age for a reverse mortgage is age 55. And let me start off with, I had someone here at the beginning say that he was too old for a reverse mortgage. We are not too old for a reverse mortgage. If you have one, you can keep the loan and never make a mandatory mortgage payment until you're age 120. I'd give myself about 20 years, I don't think 120.
So Margaret, one of the things people may not know about a reverse mortgage is that you can actually use it to downsize. Say that you have a really large home or a big lot and you want to buy something. Can you just briefly tell us about how that works?
Yes, absolutely. And a lot of people are downsizing, right? Our children are adults now. They don't come and visit, or they live out of state, or we just don't want to go up and down the stairs of our big house here in Encinitas. So to downsize, what we would do is have you sell your current home and find a smaller home perhaps, or a single-story home where a reverse mortgage can help you with the down payment. The down payment would be about 50% of the purchase price of the house, and the bank would cover the remaining balance with no mandatory monthly mortgage payments. It's easy to qualify for. We don't look at debt to income ratio, and most of my clients qualify with only Social Security income.
So this is a different question than reverse mortgages. Does your company do bridge loans?
We do bridge loans.
And the reason I'm asking that
Yes.
is, say somebody has a home and they want to move into assisted living first, move there, but they don't really have the funds to do it. Can they get a bridge loan and use that for that, or is that something totally different?
It is different, but it is possible. My company is a big company. We lend in every state except Alaska. And if we were interested in doing that, I would want you to speak to an expert. It is possible, but a bridge loan is not a reverse mortgage. It's a temporary loan until you find the house that you're looking for.
Okay, back to reverse mortgages. I was just curious on
Yeah.
that. What type of reverse mortgage exists, and what are the eligibility, loan limits, and insurance? You know, it's like conventional versus jumbo and
Right.
details of that.
A reverse is a FHA insured loan. We have fixed rate products and we have variable adjustable rates. The way that we access the benefits of a reverse is in a variety of ways. We could either take a line of credit, we can take a lump sum for what we're eligible for, or we can take mortgage payments every month. Now, throughout the process, we can change what we want. So let's say you want monthly payments of what you qualify for $2,000 a month, and you find that's not enough, you need more. We can change that along the way to be more income for you or less. We also have jumbo reverse loans, which is, again, more popular here in the area. The minimum lending limit is about $1.2 million, but if we do a jumbo, we can go all the way up to $4 million. When you have a reverse mortgage, it is revocable. Again, there is no prepayment penalty. If you were to buy a reverse now and then, or not buy, but get into a reverse mortgage now and later decide to downsize or move out, there is never a prepayment penalty. You would just sell that house and move to the new place. When we charge you interest, I want you to understand the interest is deferred. So no monthly mandatory payments are necessary, but the interest rate that we charge you, whether it's adjustable, which is lower right now than the fixed, is deferred until you either pass away or move away.
So you mentioned that you need to be 55 or older. Is there any other requirements or eligibility?
Yes, thank you. The house has to be owner occupied, and you must also pay for your own property taxes and insurance. So we want you to keep some money set aside to pay the county every month.
So what kind of expenses are there, and do people have to come out of pocket for those?
Very little out of pocket. They are expensive. It is a loan against your property. So we're gonna have title and escrow, notary, recording fees. We are gonna have an origination fee. And of course, FHA, the government, will charge us for the loan, which is a guaranteed loan. The good news is that just about everything except the appraisal is covered in the loan, and there's very little out-of-pocket expenses.
So the reverse mortgage takes away interest and payment on the loan, but there's still gonna be housing expenses that people have to pay. What is that?
Well, absolutely. So let's say you have a loan now and you're just tired of making monthly payments. Or if you didn't have monthly payments on your loan, you could sure benefit from extra cash flow. So the reverse will give you a new loan. We'll pay off what you have and give you a new loan. But if you have HOA, Homeowners Association, you cannot put that in the loan. And of course, taxes and insurance, just like what most of us are doing right now. Now, to qualify for the loan, you asked me earlier about what is important. Again, age 55 or better, owner occupied, and we want you to maintain the property. But there is no mortgage police, so we don't check on you. And when you take money out, you may also do with it whatever you wish, tax-free. I forgot to mention that. If you do take out money, you want to help your adult children buy a house, you want to take a vacation, you want to take your new husband or wife on a trip, we don't ask you what you're doing with your money. It is tax-free.
So, question on timing. So how long does it take to get a reverse mortgage? And also, explain about how you can get a line of credit. Like say that you just right now want to have no payments, but all of a sudden you need assisted living, so you need additional funds. How fast can you get those funds?
Well, I would recommend giving me 4 to 5 weeks to fund a reverse loan. And let me tell you about the line of credit. It's the best one out there. The line of credit is yours, again, until you live in the house, and we don't charge you interest on the available money unless you use any of that money. So if you are anticipating a medical issue or possibly just want to have money for an emergency, the line of credit will be there for you, and you can withdraw from it anytime you wish. If you withdraw from it, that's fine. We don't charge for that, but we will charge you interest on whatever you withdraw. Here's the beautiful thing. It is irrevocable. I think most of us at one time or another, we might have had a HELOC at a bank. And what happens with the HELOC? That's a home equity line of credit. Ours are called HECMs, Home Equity Conversion Mortgage. A HECM doesn't have a prepayment on it, nor does it have an expiration date. So unlike a bank, it doesn't come due in 10 years where we have to pay off the HECM, the HELOC, the bank line of credit, or what they do is they amortize it into our existing loan and our payment doubles. A reverse line of credit will never have a mortgage payment, and it is guaranteed to never be canceled on you. So if you have a standby line of credit, you don't need it now, you just want it there for emergencies, it'll be there for you, guaranteed by FHA.
That's pretty impressive, because say that right now, we never know where the values peak on a house. But say that we get reverse mortgage now with a line of credit, and the market goes down, then they're not going to reduce that line of credit.
And I love this question. Here's another beautiful thing. The line of credit will never be revoked, but it also grows. FHA is going to assume that our property values are going up, right? We saw a lot of that 2020 through 24. We saw a lot of equity growth. The line of credit that you don't use actually will be increased by the rate that we're charging you. It's not that complicated, it's just different. So let's say I'm charging you 5% on your line of credit. We will also increase the amount of the line that you can access every year by 5%. So if you have, for example, a $100,000 line of credit that you start off with, excuse me, at the end of the year, you're going to be able to access $105,000. We're not going to reappraise your house. It's just an assumption that is guaranteed within the loan. A lot of people will open up a reverse line of credit for that reason alone. Okay, you don't have to run off to Bank of America or the credit union to try to get a loan when there is an emergency, and there's always something. You can have that standby line of credit ready for you.
Okay, so we need to answer this one quickly, so
Yes.
we can move on. But what happens when, one of the things to keep a reverse mortgage is to live there? So say that I'm moving to assisted living or pass away, what happens with that reverse mortgage?
Well, when you move out of the house to go into assisted living, the chances are excellent you're going to be selling your house to go into assisted living, right? And the reverse has to be owner occupied. So at that time, you would let us know. You would give Chrissy a call and say, hey, we're selling the house. What's the loan balance on it? You would pay the loan balance. Anything above the loan balance is yours. There is no prepayment penalty, restriction, or anything that the bank has. All we want is the loan balance plus the interest that's been accumulating, and that process happens just as quickly as the sale of any other house.
Okay, thank you.
Welcome.
So Gary, you're going to be up next. And I'm really glad that Gary was referred to me. He's been through this process. He knows a lot about the VA aid and attendance. And so my first question to you is, what are the eligibility requirements for VA aid and attendance, including military service, income, and asset limits?
I'm gonna get down here. Can everybody hear me okay without using that microphone?
Yes.
Yeah? Okay. I have hearing aids, and when I use that microphone, they just impact my hearing aids. So let me say this. Everybody has a plan until they get punched in the face. You know what I'm saying? And so 2008, 2009, I was living in Temecula, and I lost my job. You remember back 2008, 2009, the economy exploded. 42 million people lost their jobs. I was one of them. 6 months later, I get a call from Mom. She says, son, you gotta come home. I says, Mom, you don't know, I've got a lot going on right now. I didn't tell her I lost my job. I was kind of embarrassed. And so she says, son, come home. Well, tell me, what's going on? You got to see it. So I thought, all right, pack my bags. I thought I'd spend 2 weeks checking them out. My dad was retired from the Air Force. 2 weeks became 7 years. And I took care of my parents for about 3 years. Didn't have a job, but I had a pretty good amount of savings. I'd been frugal. 3 years, I said, I can't do this anymore. I just don't have the bandwidth, constant care. And so I decided to move them into assisted living, and I had enough money to pay for at least 2 years. I wiped out all my savings to take care of them. Then I found out that there are my dad was a veteran. He had a retirement, but he was also eligible for other benefits I didn't even know about. And one of them is aid and attendance. And that's what I'm talking about today. So eligibility for aid and attendance is basically assistance that you can receive to take care of daily activities like changing clothes, baths, helping walking, helping them with the groceries, going to the store for them, things like that. And so I thought, wow, that's great. And so I started asking questions, and everybody knew something, but nobody was an expert. And so I finally found out a source of information that was accurate. Those that have served at least 90 days at least 90 days of active duty and 1 day during an active conflict or wartime. And that includes World War II, the Korean War, the Vietnam War, and the Gulf War. So if you served for 1 day active duty during those times, you're eligible for aid and attendance. Your other question?
So what are the asset limits?
Asset limits. You want me to use the microphone?
I keep forgetting to put mine.
Asset limits. When I filed for my mom and dad in 2010, it was $70,000. Today, 2024, it's $150,000. Now, these are all spelled out in the handout, and I have enough for the veterans, I believe, maybe a few extra, but this is all spelled out in my handout that you'll receive. Now, aid in attendance is an add-on to your pension, okay? You can continue with your pension, and it's an add-on. For married veterans with a spouse, it's roughly $1,000 to $1,400 a month. Single, it's about $800. Now, I don't know about you, but every penny helps when you start paying for assisted living type expenses, all right? And so, what's your next question?
Okay, just a clarification on the handouts, there's just a brief thing about all VA benefits in there, but Gary made about 10 handouts with a lot of details for the veterans who are actually here. So if you're not, and you're not gonna be using it, don't take that. But I just want to, well, he can connect with,
I have about 25 handouts.
oh, okay, all right. And then also you can connect through me to get to him or see him afterwards. Talk about the application process. Is that difficult, and how long does approval take?
Everybody thinks they're an expert. Now, you got to be careful who you talk to regarding veterans benefits. It took me 2 years to get my mom and dad approved. And I made a lot of mistakes, because I didn't have the resource, or I didn't talk to the right people. Now, I can tell you some of the common errors that are made when you file an application. Number one, your incomplete forms. Number two, lack of proper medical documentation, because you have to document your conditions. A doctor has to certify that you need certain care, all right? So those are some of the documents. You have to record your income and assets, and that's lengthy, all right? And I made a lot of mistakes on that because I just simply did not know. Failure to include necessary documents, that prolonged the process. You have to upload everything, or give them, nobody will take say, I'll take care of it for you. You got to do it all, okay? Now, a person can point you in the right direction, but a lot of people will not do it for you, and they will tell you how, and then it's up to you to do it. And that's the other thing, not seeking help. And I have a list of contacts in my handout that would be helpful. They don't charge anything, but they will give you advice on the process itself.
So to get this, will it cover like if you're in home care, and does it have to be as an assisted living, or what does it actually, what do you have to be in order to get that?
Yes, it will cover in-home care. I wanted my mom and dad to live at home. Okay, I checked out these facilities and those that are covering my Medicaid and different things, and I said, no, this is in Tennessee now. Every state's different. And I didn't want my mom and dad to initially go to one of those facilities. So the aid and attendance helped me to take care of them while they were at home. Now that eventually ended, but you can also use it in addition to any other benefits you receive through the VA, such as they have another benefit that's called, household allowance. Now, that is primarily for disabled veterans, okay? And it's usually the benefit is a little bit less than aid and attendance. So aid and attendance went a long way for me to be able to take care of my parents.
So are there organizations out there that can help somebody apply?
Yeah, for sure. I've got one of the ones that I use quite a bit. It's called AMVETS, AMVETS. DVA is another one, Disabled Veterans Association, all right? Now, again, I got them on my handout, but there's a number. Or just contact, they usually have the DAVs at the veteran hospitals and some of the other sites throughout the state. All you have to do is Google the name, but I got a list of them on my handout.
Actually, if you don't mind if I interject there. Also, you can just search on the internet for the words county service office. Depending on what county, if you're in San Diego County, you'll do San Diego County Service Office. It's a Veterans Service Office, and it's a county office that can help you with those applications free of charge.
Thanks, Lisa. One last question, is there any legal process or anything that somebody needs to go through legally to get this?
Well, that's the part that I wish I could do over. Now, I mentioned that they look at your assets, and the net worth right now is 40,000, I think. If you plan in advance, and you have a good financial planner, you can do things that will help you qualify more readily, such as a trust, okay, where some of your assets are not in your name. Now, again, I'm not a financial planner. I wish I had planned for this, but that's life, unfortunately. I didn't know my parents were in the condition they were. And so the key thing here is advanced planning. Know what you're eligible for and start planning for it. So if you put your assets in what we call a trust, then they're in another name, and therefore when you refill out some of the documents, you do not have to report them because they're not in your name. But you have to have that done 3 years before you apply for aid and attendance. Okay? And that's something I didn't know about.
So it's a good thing, none of us are attorneys here, so you do want to talk to
definitely.
a trust attorney. And Lisa's going to be touching on it briefly as well. So Gary, thank you so much. I appreciate you sharing what you went through and helping us. So Lisa, I'm so glad that you made the trip down here. This is a topic I didn't have a clue about. I didn't know that there was Medi-Cal, Medicaid, and how different than Medicare. And so would you just help explain the difference a little bit, and then we'll go on to the other questions.
So I've got an hour. So I want to see you guys raise your hands. Who here is on Medicare? Raise your hand if you're on Medicare.
Is that the same as Medicare Advantage?
Yes, any kind of Medicare plan. Even if you've assigned it to Kaiser or whoever. If you've got a Medicare plan, some sort, you're eligible to Medicare. Every single person with their hand up, you're eligible to Medi-Cal. Okay? At the first of the year, Medi-Cal made some crazy changes. They eliminated asset limits. That means they no longer concern themselves with how much money you got in the bank, or how many properties you own, or what your investment accounts look like. The only thing they're going to look at is how much income you've got coming in. But that includes your interest, dividends, if you're pulling distribution out of your IRAs, 401ks, those things will be counted as income as well. Rental income, even though they don't care you have 10 rental properties, they do want to know how much rent you're getting. But they do a calculation. There's no set calculation for anything, okay? But like with rental income, you can have a ton of rental properties, but the way that they calculate the rent, they take into consideration what your mortgage is, what your taxes, what your upkeep is. So your net rental income is not the same as actually what you're receiving. So there's a lot of misconceptions about Medi-Cal. I've been doing this over 30 years. I started a business over 20 years ago called Medi-Cal Consulting Services. And we'll assess your situation free of charge. We'll explain to you what Medi-Cal relates to you. You just actually go to our website and complete a free assessment. Also, right now, does everybody know what today is? Besides National Pasta Day? It's actually the Super Bowl of Medicare. Today is open enrollment for Medicare. That means every single one of you who's on Medicare, you need to have a review. You need to understand what benefits are out there. I know a lot of people are scared of change. And you think, well, I'm seeing my doctors, my medicine's getting paid for, I seem to be doing okay, I don't really know if I want to upset that. You know what, the benefits that have come out this year are pretty amazing. They're paying money to you to buy groceries now. Some of these plans, they'll give you extra money to get over-the-counter drugs. They'll even, with that grocery money, some of the plans will help you set up an account, what's that, grocery, Instacart, I think. They'll help you understand how to set it up, how to order your groceries. that they're gonna pay for. I mean, it's amazing. There's a lot of really great benefits out there. If you're interested in getting a review, call my office. We'll help you out with that as well. So Medicare is the plan that you pay into, right? You get 40 quarters. If you become disabled or you retire, the government gives you the health insurance. That's the Medicare. Now what you decide to do with your Medicare is your choice. You can assign it over to another plan. They've got Plan A, Part B, goes all the way G, H, I, J, K, L. I mean, it's crazy. And it gets very intimidating. But it doesn't hurt you just to look and see what's out there to help you with other things. Medi-Cal's similar like that because Medi-Cal is basically a welfare program, okay? It's California's version of Medicaid. Medicaid has, every state has a Medicaid program. They all call it differently. You don't have to pay into Medicaid. Medi-Cal is what we call it here in California. You don't have to have worked here. You didn't have to pay into it. You didn't have to pay taxes. It's not like that. You're eligible, period. Now, a lot of people have heard so much misinformation about Medi-Cal. For example, they've heard that if you get on Medi-Cal, they're gonna come take your home. That's not true, okay? Not at all. Rules have changed about that as well. At the end of 2017, Senate Bill 833 was passed, and it says as long as your estate does not go into probate, you won't be subject to a lien. So you don't have to worry about anything, paying anything back. It all was given to you to help you through some times of need, okay? Medi-Cal has some amazing programs that will help you through your time of need. I call Medi-Cal healthcare on steroids, honestly. I worked for Medi-Cal. I understand the bureaucracy. It's awful the way they treat people through the Medi-Cal offices, honestly. You get wrong information right from the Medi-Cal office, often. If you want to call down there to ask a question, be prepared to be on hold from an hour and a half to 2 hours every time you call. And pray that they don't just hang up on you, or maybe you get someone who just really doesn't care about helping you right now. You know, it's awful. It really is awful. So I set my company up where we will give you a free consultation about you, what's going on with you. And I'm typically the person you speak to because I feel like everyone has a right to know what their options are so you can make an informed decision. And there's a lot of amazing help out there through the Medicare, Medi-Cal, and then even the VA, like Gary was sharing. The VA has amazing programs, and the aid attendance benefit that he was speaking of, so many people have not heard of that program. Even if you go down to the VA hospital or where they do help you sign up for benefits, they may not even tell you about it if you don't ask.
So Lisa, can you do aid in attendance and Medi-Cal?
That's a great question. The answer is yes, you can. In fact, your aid in attendance money you get through the VA is exempt income according to Medi-Cal. So you can get that to help you. Say you're living at home, you get on the aid in attendance benefit, you're getting that income coming in, but then you also can apply for Medi-Cal and get help through like maybe the IHSS program. Have you guys heard of in-home support services? You need to pick up some information on my table. You're gonna be enlightened, I'm telling you. In-home support services is an amazing program through Medi-Cal. Well, they will pay someone to come to your home and take care of you. Whoever you decide. It could be your spouse, a family, friend, someone from church, or whoever you choose. So there's also the assisted living waiver program. Have you guys heard of the assisted living waiver program? It's so sought after. Unfortunately, about 2.5 weeks ago, they put the program on hold. It's so amazing. The cost of care through the assisted living waiver program is about $1,400 a month. That's it. And you get to choose which community you want to go move into of the ones that are participating in the program. And there is a lot. Sherry can help you determine which of all those communities you'd like to move into. That's a great thing.
So on that program, do you think it's going to come back? Or is there talk about refunding it?
Yes. Now, they put it on hold for individuals who are in the community who want to apply for the program. But if you know someone who is in a unsafe situation where maybe they've got dementia, they shouldn't be living home alone, there's a situation like that, or if it's someone who's in a nursing home, okay? Those individuals can get what they call priority placement, and they will still be accepted into the program. Speaking of assisted living though, speaking of nursing homes, SNF, as Sherry introduced you to. I used to work in SNF land, as we call it. I worked in the nursing home industry for a number of years. So I traveled throughout the entire state, connecting with different facilities, working with their staff and their families. Nursing homes they market themselves in different ways. They might call them a short-term rehab, or they're a health and wellness center, rehabilitation hospital, convalescence center. They have all these different names, but they're basically just nursing homes. It's how they're marketing. They're licensed by the state of California, and how many ever beds they have in that facility, they're all Medi-Cal beds. So if anybody's ever told you, oh, we don't have any Medi-Cal bed, or we don't have any long-term beds, they're pulling the wool over your eyes.
Really?
Okay? There's a lot of games that are being played. Really? If you have a loved one who's currently in a nursing home and they're trying to get them out, and that's one of the excuses they tell you, they're full of crap. Okay? And I help people with patient rights. That's what I do for a living. I'm an advocate. I love what I do. I worked in that arena. I know the games they play, and I know how to help you inform yourself so you can be the best advocate possible.
Lisa, how hard is it to fill out the application and fill it out right so that you do get it?
Sometimes it's almost impossible. And that's not really necessarily the person who's filling it out. Sometimes it's the county worker who's not assessing the information correctly. But the application, when you're filling out a form, it's just very difficult because the form itself is used for various programs. So there's questions on there that don't even apply to the Medi-Cal program that you're trying to apply for. So it gets really confusing. You're like, well, what do they mean the household? It's me and my daughter and her son. So is that my household? You know, and then they start talking about taxes because different programs look at your how you file taxes. But when it comes to Medi-Cal, for someone who's 65 or older or on Medicare at any age, it's irrelevant how you file your taxes. So when they put questions on there about, you know, who does anybody claim you as a dependent, you're like, you know, it's irrelevant, and it gets very confusing. So that's why with my company, I set it up almost 20 years ago, we'll do a free assessment on you. So you're geared up, so you understand how to tackle it if you want to tackle it on your own.
So speaking of that, on timing, so I'm living at home, doing fine, all of a sudden I realize I should have done Medi-Cal. How soon in advance should I start looking at getting Medi-Cal? Do I have to wait till I'm sick and need it? Or
Oh, no, not at all.
So when would someone start planning for that?
Well, I mean, you can apply for Medi-Cal now, even if you're healthy, you're active, you don't have any health issues, or maybe you have a few minor issues. You can go out and apply for Medi-Cal now. Because, you know, there's services within the Medi-Cal that will help you. You don't have to take advantage of the IHSS program now. You don't have to take advantage of the Assisted Living Waiver program or the PACE program. You guys heard of PACE? Oh, PACE is an amazing program. One of the downfalls is you have to give up your doctors, and those who are on Kaiser are like, nope, not for me. But other than that, it's an amazing program. So if you're healthy, let's say, pretty healthy, you know, you're pretty independent, Medi-Cal can still help you. One of the first benefits that you could claim with Medi-Cal is Medi-Cal will pay your Part B premium for your Medicare. Does anybody know how much you pay every month for your Part B premium? They take it out of your Social Security check in most instances.
I think I pay $250.
Medi-Cal will pay that for you if you meet your share of cost every month, or you're eligible to a zero share of cost. So typically people pay about $175 a month. If you've signed up late for Medi-Cal or not Medi-Cal, Medicare, or there's other criteria where you may be paying typically a little higher than others, but the average is $175. Wouldn't it be nice to get an additional $175 back in your Social Security check every month? Yeah. Just because you're on Medi-Cal and you're meeting your share of costs. Now let's talk about share of costs if I could.
That was my next question.
Great.
Yes.
Great. So share of cost. I actually have a video on my YouTube channel that talks just about share of cost, but I'm telling you, if you go there, watch the 18-minute video. So share of cost is your cost of the care. It's like a deductible. And it's calculated solely according to your income and whether you're single or you're married and where you're currently residing, whether you're at home, you're in assisted living, you're in a nursing home, depending on what your circumstances are. There's a ton of different type of calculations, and there's a lot of ways to help you get a zero share of cost. And when you're married, there's a special program that came out in 2017 called the CBS, Home Community Based Services Waiver. Under that special program, if you're married and you have one spouse who's struggling with a health crisis, something's going on with them and they need some help, this program will help you if you get a doctor to sign a note that says that this individual needs help. You apply that with your application, they'll assess you under the special program, and what they do is they take a married couple and they kind of split them up in different budget units, so they look at their income individually. Because sometimes, like, maybe one spouse is making a lot of income and maybe the other spouse is not making so much. And typically when you go to apply for Medi-Cal and you're married, they'll put the income together and then they determine, and your share cost is usually pretty hefty. But through this waiver program, they'll help you be able to qualify to get that zero share cost that you'll need. We can help you in strategizing to get the zero share cost. Because the zero share cost is like the golden ticket. That allows you to be eligible for all that Medi-Cal has to offer. Another program that's available to individuals, like if you were ever deemed disabled by Social Security, there's a special disability program where you can get a zero share cost that we can help you with. So there's a lot of help out there. If you're in assisted living and you're paying for your rent, they call it a room and board, that room and board can offset your income, so you can be eligible to a zero share cost. When you have a spousal case and you're either in assisted living or a nursing home, one spouse can allocate income to the other spouse. Those are called the spousal empowerment provisions. There's so much available through Medi-Cal. You got to get to the right person that understands it so they can explain it and apply it to your situation, and we can do that for you.
So I know you started off and you were talking about the new rules and about how like assets are no longer looked at. But income, like what is the income? Did you mention that? I missed that part.
Well, income can be counted as anything, like whether it's an earned income, an unearned income. You know, if families are giving you money to help meet your needs every month, and they're giving you regularly, oh, my mom puts $200 in my account every month to help me make ends meet. Medi-Cal's going to count that as income. So a good strategy a lot of times will say, well, why are you getting that income from your family? Well, I really need help paying my rent or my mortgage. Well, can the family member pay the money directly to the entity? Then it doesn't even come to you. Then you're still getting the help, but you won't be counted as extra income. There's so many little strategies, like with IRAs, 401ks, deferred comp, 403bs, those type of retirement accounts. You know that you're not required to take any type of a draw until you're 73 now. They changed that rule. So if you're not 73 or older, you don't need to draw from that. But if you are drawing from that, you're going to get counted as income in most cases. Sometimes you might want to consider liquidating. Now don't go and jump and do anything without getting professional advice, but sometimes one of our strategies is liquidate an account that's giving you income, and then you eliminate that income. There's so many different strategies to help people get the help they need.
So say they were getting, some income that they decide to quit, so they qualify. How many years will they go back and look, or months?
So what you're referring to is called the 30-month look-back period. 30 months, that's 2.5 years. Now most of the other states, they have a 60-month look-back period. So a lot of times, people get it confused. They think it's a 5-year look-back. It's not. It's 2.5 years. And the way that it works is that when you go to apply for Medi-Cal, Medi-Cal has a right to look back 2.5 years to see if you've given away, traded, transferred, sold, closed out any assets could have been used for your care. Now, if you happen to have done any of that, that doesn't necessarily mean you're going to be penalized. They just need to know about it. They're looking at it. Then they look at it to see if you created what they call a period of ineligibility. Now, period of ineligibility only applies if you need nursing home care. So if you apply for Medi-Cal and you don't need a nursing home, you could have really given your son $1 million the day before. But in that 30-month look back, it applies once you need nursing home care. So let's say 2 years down the road, now you need a nursing home. And that 30-month look back could be activated. So you've got to really strategize and really think about things. You've got to know the ins and outs of Medi-Cal before you go and start taking these strategies. Make sure you're getting to the right person that understands the process, just like Gary was talking about with the VA. It's so important to get to a professional that can give you the advice you need from the very beginning.
So on the Medi-Cal, so we know that Medi-Cal it's not considered a gift. Did you mention they're not gonna come after you? Is there any time that they will? Like once you pass away, and if you have a trust, are they going to, or do you have to have a certain kind of trust, or how does that work?
So like I mentioned earlier, Senate Bill 833 came out in November 2017, and it says that as long as your estate doesn't go into probate, you won't be subject to a lien. It's that simple, okay? When does your estate potentially go into probate? It's when you pass away. And if you're married, both you and your spouse have to pass away before Medi-Cal will even consider a lien. And as long as your estate doesn't go into the probate, you're safe, you're fine. Senate Bill 833, look it up.
So another good reason to get a trust.
Well, a trust is one option, but you've got to be careful in giving advice because not everybody, it works for them. What keeps you out of probate may not work for you, you know?
So that's why you need good advice.
Yeah, we can kind of assess what's going on with you and tell you if you need to go see someone, or if you know what, you're fine. You don't need to do anything. Your estate's not going to go into probate. You know, if you don't own any real property, most likely you won't go into probate. But you've got to look at other factors as well. It's important to make sure you get the right legal advice from the right legal advisors.
So say that you have long-term care insurance. So how does long-term care insurance and Medi-Cal work? Do you wait till your long-term care insurance is up?
Oh no, not at all. Medi-Cal works really great with long-term care insurance, actually. Long-term care insurance, well, the premiums, first of all, if you have long-term care insurance, which is a great product, but it's hard to understand. And I'll tell you, from someone who right now, I'm one of the primary caregivers for my 90-year-old father-in-law. Me and my honey, we help take care of Pops, and he's got a long-term care insurance. And I have now been experiencing how awful and how difficult it is to get your benefits. It's ridiculous, the hoops they make you jump through. It's crazy. So I do, Sherry, I forgot which one of you lovely ladies mentioned, you need to call your insurance company. If it's through New York Life or whomever, call them and get them to explain the benefits. How is the first 90 days paid? You have to wait 90 days before you get anything. A lot of policies have that period. There's so many different aspects of policies. So if you're paying for a long-term care insurance premiums right now, those premiums are going to be offset your income when you go to apply for Medi-Cal. So it's going to lower your countable income, for one. But if you're taking your long-term care insurance benefits, if you're fortunate enough to actually be receiving benefits from your long-term care insurance policy, your premiums are no longer due. But also, depending on how the policy is set up, some policies pay right to the individual policy owner. Some policies pay directly to the provider, whether it's the nursing home, the assisted living, maybe home care individual, or what have you. Now, those, depending on how they work, things are looked at differently, obviously. But if it's coming to you, that's not counted as income. It's a reimbursement. They're paying you back you're paying for your care, so that's not counted. And that's why the aid and attendance benefit is considered exempt. Because the money you get from the VA is basically reimbursed medical expenses. That's what they call it, the money you get through the aid and attendance benefit, so it's not counted.
So Lisa, I'm going to have you wrap it up, but do you have anything like in a minute that you want to share that we didn't touch on?
Well, a minute, I do all-day trainings, so I could talk all day. But I just want to encourage each and every one of you. I don't care how much you have in the bank. I don't care how much income you have. I really want to encourage you to seek out all these amazing benefits that are up here. You know, they're there to help you. And you'll never have any idea if you don't reach out, really all the help that is there. Don't get caught up in the misinformation you've heard. There's so much, whether it's the aid, attendance, reverse mortgage, a placement agent. This lady is so helpful when you're trying to, it's so confusing when you're like all these different care homes. Yeah, that one looks pretty, that one looks pretty, that one doesn't look so nice. Who cares what it looks like? What about the care you're gonna get? I mean, it all comes into play. What about the food?
Yeah.
You know, there's so much to do. And
going back to Sherry, I have a question that almost everyone always has a concern about. Is what if I outlive my money and I'm in assisted living or I'm starting to rent out?
that's the biggest fear of everyone.
I know.
It is.
What happens, or can you give any kind of advice there?
Well, that's why everybody on this panel is so important, because you want to plan as far ahead as possible. It's never ever too early. But I have worked with clients who reach out because they thought that, once they found their perfect community and moved into it, that was it. And that's the ideal situation. But sometimes, because every community does increase their rates usually every year, and so they find themselves that, and maybe they stay healthier because they've been taking care of themselves better because they're in a community where the food is really good and they're eating and there's activities and socializing, and so they have more years than they thought. That's when they do call me, and then we kind of go through the process again, because there are usually other options that are less expensive than what they might be paying now. New communities are opening all the time. Some are like 5-star resorts, and then some are clean, they're well run, but they're not the fanciest around. But I do know the companies that run all of them, and I fully vet every single community before I refer. So I do know there are some options that may be $1,000, $2,000 less a month than they're paying now that they really might enjoy. So there are usually options out there.
And actually what I could say is, it not only can Sherry help you find your perfect home, but like she says, if you get there and then you realize it's not what you thought, I'm sure she can help you understand how to place a complaint and get someone to acknowledge the situation and rectify it for you. So there's a lot of help in working with a professional.
Thank you, and I've had to do that with my own mother. And when I moved her from Atlanta to Arizona, and I was not in the industry at the time, this was 11 years ago, and the first community we found, I absolutely had to get involved. And it's always helpful to have an advocate. Because she's lucky she has me.
You can notify the state. They do need community care licensing to make complaints, and they'll take note, believe me.
And that's why those 55 plus communities that aren't licensed, they might be good for some people, but if you even think if you want all-inclusive living, first of all, that's not them. And then if they're not licensed by the state, which the reputable ones are, those are the ones that are getting checked, they're getting, and I can pull up, and you actually can even pull up any citations that they might have, but it's just a lot more regulated. So there are some that are called independent living, but they're not licensed. I would maybe caution against.
So we're gonna switch to Q&A, questions and answers. Rick and Chris, will you come up and get the microphones? And I'm sure that there's a lot of information. If you have questions, please go ahead and raise your hand, and we'll have that. Thank you. Yeah, and then we'll just share
This one work?
this. So if you have a question and you're directing it to one person, start with their name or with what they do.
Yes, Lisa, I have just 2 quick questions. First, in determining the income, do they take into account, and only one spouse, say, is applying to go into a skilled facility? Are they counting?
Well, first of all, both spouses are applying, but maybe only one of them is requesting benefits.
Right.
So both of your information is looked at.
And, okay, so they count both, correct?
They take into consideration all of your income and assets.
Right. And the second question is, as far as the lookout, what are they looking back at? Any income producing assets that you transferred out of your name?
They're looking for anything that you've given away, transferred, traded, sold, liquidated, closed out, any kind of assets whatsoever. But just because you maybe gave some money away or you sold a property, that doesn't mean it's going to be an issue.
But you said it's based on your income that you received.
Right.
So it must be some type of asset that produces the income.
So the period of ineligibility, which is what the look-back period is looking for, was created over 50 years ago. So they just eliminated asset limits at the first of this year, January 1st, 2024. So the look-back period has always been in place. What they're actually doing now is they're actually starting to decrease the look-back period. Like this year, it's 29 months. Next year, it's going to be 28 months. So they're slowly decreasing the look-back period where eventually there's not even going to be one anymore.
So Lisa, do they look at like your bank statements, or what do they look at? How do they look back?
Yeah, they look at banks. A lot of times they look at all your different account statements to see money moving. They have asset reports that they can pull up things like that, and they do that in everything. So working with someone who used to work for Medi-Cal, I understand the processes and help you understand what to expect.
Okay, Rick?
Hi, another question for Lisa. If I go on Medi-Cal, does that mean I need a Medi-Cal Advantage policy? I'd have to change my health insurance?
So the short answer to that is whenever you apply for Medi-Cal, you never have to change anything, okay? Medi-Cal complements whatever else you already have. Now there are particular Medicare plans that work specifically with people who are on Medi-Cal, and I can help you review your Medicare plans if you'd like. Just there's a tablet on my table, write your name and information on there if you'd like, or call my office and we can do a Medicare or Medi-Cal review for you and help you understand how your situation relates to both. But the important thing is Medi-Cal is not going to require you to change anything. It's only there to complement what you have and fill in the gaps.
That's mind-blowing, you'll hear from me.
If these changes are mind-blowing, yeah, you need to get the word out.
One question over here. We'll get to you next, Stephanie.
Lisa, this is for you. Is there a state requirement for a certain percentage of Medi-Cal beds in a SNF or what I call an ALF, assisted living? And the second quick question is, if you're in on a private pay and you run out of money, will they convert that bed to a Medi-Cal bed?
If they're a licensed Medi-Cal facility, every bed in the facility is a Medi-Cal bed by the state of California. Now, the owner of the facility might lead you to believe differently. So if you're already in a bed and they're trying to tell you they don't have any long-term care or Medi-Cal beds, you just tell them the bed I'm in is just fine, thank you.
So there's no 10% or a certain percentage where
No,
they say,
the whole facility.
Sherry has something to
That's skilled nursing facility, that's SNF, not assisted living community.
Christy, we have one here.
Dictate with how many beds they have.
Again, right after you.
what's the percentage?
After her,
It varies based on the corporation, the ones
You guys, why don't we turn it off when you're not using it, and then, okay? Please say, we have 3 over on this side, this scale, the light blue, and then, over on the yeah.
What's the residency requirement in California for Medi-Cal? And you talked about veterans getting benefits, what about their spouses?
So in regards to California residency, it begins the first day you get here and you intend to stay here. So.
Okay.
Veterans.
Go ahead, yeah,
Veteran spouses.
For veteran, my mom was she maintained the benefits that my dad had after he passed away. So, you retain the benefits as a spouse. That answer your question?
So if the veteran didn't get any benefits,
The spouse can't get them.
Right, if the veteran does not qualify, then no, the spouse.
well, he would have qualified, but he never got any. We never applied.
Is he
for
still
any.
living?
No.
But she
That's a
is
good question. I have to-
Can apply, the spouse can apply.
Yes.
If the veteran was qualified and they get all the paperwork together, the widow or widower can apply.
Gary, do the veterans that benefits that you mentioned, the aid and attendance, only apply to veterans who have a pension?
No. No, they can have a disability, but it depends on, some veterans get a disability, all right, rather than a pension. But it's based upon their medical rating in terms of their disability.
Okay, so you have to have one or the other.
But you don't have to have other VA benefits in order to get the aid and attendance. You can
Right.
get just aid and attendance.
You have another question?
So my husband was in for 4 years. No disability, no pension,
No pension?
no. So he wouldn't qualify?
I'd have to research, I don't think so, but I'd have to research it.
All right, thank you.
Are you specifically talking about aid and attendance?
Yes.
Yes, you do not need to
You
qualify
don't.
for other VA benefits. The eligibility, like you spoke of, 90 days in the military, 1 day during an active wartime period, your assets at a certain limit, and you're using your income to pay for your care. That's it in a nutshell.
Did he serve in a conflict like Vietnam?
He served during Vietnam, but he wasn't
All right.
in Vietnam.
Christy, I'm gonna sort of accelerate this. If you've got long-term questions, Gary has all the answers. Just see him afterwards.
I have a question for Marta. I'm interested in how, I was told that reverse mortgages are very expensive if they're potentially short term, and that if you're looking at 20 years, it's a good deal. If you're looking at 3 or 4 or 5, it's not a good deal. Could you speak to that?
Absolutely. There is a charge that is not a lender charge, it's an FHA charge that guarantees your loan. So the fee that people talk about is a 2% fee on your home's value. If your home is worth $1 million, 2% of $1 million is 25,000. So that goes in your loan, but the money that you receive is net and that is not paid up front. The reason we don't recommend it short term is because of that fee. But if you're going in it for a while, a minimum of 5 years or so, even though there is no prepayment, it's going to amortize itself out. And I have a chart that can show you how that works.
Lisa, on the 30-month look back, if you take your RMD out and you do a QCD, which is a qualified donation, contribution to someone, do they consider that? You know, if you donate to charity directly out of your RMD?
So yes, donating to charity is basically gifting money.
Right. And
So that is looked at during the look back period to see if a period of ineligibility was created. But it doesn't mean you're gonna be penalized. If a period of eligibility was created, I can help you rectify it.
Are there any more questions? So I'm going to ask the panel to go over to their tables, and I have just a couple more announcements. If you have more personal questions, stop by their table, get their information, ask them. Also, in your packet, the yellow is the evaluation form. So if you would please take time to fill that out. On the evaluation form, if you'd like one of the panel members to actually contact you, please go ahead and check that, and we'll get that information to you, or get your information to the panel, the expert. Also, I lost my clicker, so I'm going to tell you about the next two.
Under the table.
I'm going to just share with you the next 2 seminars that you can sign up for. Next month is going to be about disaster reliance. And we hear so much about things that are going on, like floods. We don't know where an earthquake's going. They've been having minor ones. Let's be prepared. What if we have a fire, a major fire? Are we ready? So I have an expert that's what she teaches, is disaster reliance. So please plan on coming to that. And then the final one is on fall risk. And as a senior, that is one of the more devastating things that can happen to us, is to take a fall and not recover. So I have some experts that are going to be here to help us with that as well. So on the yellow sheet, if you want to come to that, you can pre-register by checking that box. And so I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up. I'm grateful for all of you being here. I learned a lot. I hope you took at least one nugget home that you didn't know before. And I hope I see you again. Thank you for coming.